It's an eventful day one at the RNC, of course, not just because of the unprecedented moment where President Trump entered the arena with the bandage on his ear to the throngs of loyalists applauding him, as they should.
Yeah, but think about it, too. I mean, he has bruises, too, from the Secret Service taking him down. He had mentioned that he has severe bruising on his arms and legs because he was tackled so hard that he
went
fell
down,
out of his shoes.
He went down.
And then they protected him. That's their job. But
yeah.
But he had the fortitude and strength to get out there. And I'm telling you, last night he looked like he was a changed man. He seemed humble. He had tears in his eyes. And so did Don Trump Jr. And so did most of us that were watching. And I rewound. I watched it twice because it was so moving. And I don't think we'll ever see anything like that in our lifetime.
Well, let's hope not, because we don't want to see anybody with a near-death experience that President Trump went through. The other highlights last night, Amber Rose, who's a model and actress and influencer and such.
Kanye West's ex-girlfriend.
Interesting that she channeled Barry Goldwater. Probably didn't know it, but she did. When she was talking about prices at the pump, prices at the grocery store, Bidenflation.
Inflation is out of control, and you know in your heart it was not like this under Donald Trump.
You know in your heart he's right.
My message to you tonight comes from a humble place. The left told me to hate Trump, and even worse, to hate the other side, the people who support him. When you cut through the lies, you realize the truth. American families were better when Donald Trump was president.
Yeah, I don't know who had the bigger conversion story, Amber Rose or J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate.
Yeah, because he explained, he called Trump at some point in time American Hitler and that he was unfit to be in the Oval Office. And he was on with Hannity and explained his change of heart.
I was certainly skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016, but President Trump was a great president, and he changed my mind. I think he changed the minds of a lot of Americans because, again, he delivered that peace and prosperity. If you go back to what I thought in 2016, another thing that was going on, Sean, is I bought into the media's lies and distortions. I bought into this idea that somehow he was going to be so different, a terrible threat to democracy. It was a joke. Joe Biden is the one who's trying to throw his political opposition in jail. Joe Biden is the one who's trying to undermine American law and order. President Trump did a really good job. And I actually think it's a good thing when you see somebody, you were wrong about him, you ought to admit the mistake and admit that you were wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
Good enough for me.
2016, he was a snot-nosed 31-year-old kid hanging around with Glenn Close and Amy Adams. He was probably a little starstruck, falling for their line of bull jive, and now he's all grown up. So that works. One other moment last night that was interesting. I mean, this whole speech was, but just his presence was. I'm talking about Sean O'Brien. I thought there was going to be a cage match between him and Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, which I would have enjoyed. But instead, it was just Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters president, saying he was happy to be invited. He's got a good relationship with J.D. Vance, by the way. And, they know no political affiliation, so he says the Teamsters is just whatever's good for the American worker, and he had this to say about Trump.
Now, you can have whatever opinion you want, but one thing is clear. President Trump is a candidate who is not afraid of hearing from new, loud, and often critical voices. And I think we all can agree, whether people like him or they don't like him, in light of what happened to him on Saturday, he has proven to be one tough SOB.
Yeah, and I got to say, for all this talk about, J.D. Vance, it's just an appeal to the base and so on and so forth. Boy, Amber Rose and Sean O'Brien, and you're telling me that Trump is not broadening the coalition? I think that's hard to square. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Elizabeth Pipko. She's the Republican National Committee spokeswoman. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, off to a pretty rousing start yesterday, particularly with these non-traditional featured speakers like Amber and Sean, huh?
Definitely. You mentioned Donald Trump kind of making sure that he has more people in the coalition going into this election, and I think that's that's obvious, right? That's kind of what's going on. J.D. Vance is a great representation of people changing their minds and ending up big fans of President Trump, the work he did when he was president and the work that he will most likely do when he gets back into the White House next year. So it is an exciting time. It's a very moving moment in this country, looking at where we are, looking at what happened on Saturday, looking at the hope that a lot of people have for the future. And I don't think a lot of us realize it, but we are truly living through history right now.
What was it like last night to be there when Trump, I know he didn't speak, but the fact that he came in to the RNC convention and just walk us through that and what it was like?
Yeah, so people actually didn't know if he was going to come out last night or not. People did not expect him to come out. It was quite the surprise for a lot of people, and I think no one really knew what to expect in general because of what happened on Saturday, right? Not everyone gets to see an assassination attempt on a former president in their lifetime, so we're all kind of changed in a way because of it, and we all are sitting and wondering how President Trump has changed as well because, again, what he faced is something none of us can understand, none of us can comprehend, and I'm not even sure if he's fully understood it just yet. He said the other day he should not be here, right? He realizes that had he not tilted his head, he might not still be on this earth with all of us. So it's an incredible time for all of us, and sitting there last night with him walking out with his ear bandaged, coming out, showing the American people and the world how strong he is and how strong we all are as a nation, staring down evil always. It's kind of what we're known for in America, and coming out on top. It was incredibly inspiring, moving. I definitely cried quite a bit, and I'm sure I wasn't alone crying there in the arena.
I was with you, sister.
So the D.C. press corps has been doing their best to sort of de-emphasize the failed assassination attempt and sort of treat it as just another event in the political news cycle, focusing on everybody's rhetoric. Both sides need to cool it off and tone it down. And even some outlets like Axios going so far as to say essentially that Trump is responsible for the failed assassination attempt on him because he is a purveyor of belligerent political rhetoric and so forth. And now, and now that everybody's off of their timeout, like Morning Joe is back, they're allowed to broadcast again today. So their timeouts, they put their carpet squares away and they get to throw their temper tantrums again on TV as they do daily. What is the sort of the approach from a comms perspective of the RNC and of the Trump campaign? I know he's reworked his speech for Thursday, and it's going to be an appeal for national unity after the events of this weekend. But do you just relegate all of the Axios, Morning Joe, Joy Reid business to white noise and pay it no mind and focus on your own messaging? Or do you think that this back and forth about who is using the most incendiary rhetoric is something that needs to be engaged?
Well, look, it's a good question because when we speak, right, when I speak, when President Trump speaks, we're not speaking to MSNBC. We're speaking to the American people. And I think the response to what happened on Saturday is up to them. It's not up to Axios or MSNBC or anybody else. It's up to the American people who I know deep down, whether they support Donald Trump politically or not, are shaken by what happened on Saturday. Let's not forget, too, they can try to play down whatever happened in their own brains however much they want, but someone actually did lose their life on Saturday. We are so blessed and so happy Donald Trump is still with us, but we did lose an American on Saturday. Corey Comportor is his name. He woke up excited to go to a political event of a man that he supported, not realizing he would not come home that night. That is a tragedy in America. This event cannot be played down just because Donald Trump miraculously survived. That should never happen in this country. I am a daughter of immigrants from the former Soviet Union. These are the kind of things that happen at political events in third world countries around the world. This does not happen in our country, and everyone in the media should treat it as a tragedy that it is, not try to play it down because of any of their views on Donald Trump or their fears for losing this upcoming election. We should all be united in the fact that this should never happen in our country, and this is a tragedy no matter where you stand politically.
So what's on tap for tonight? Nikki Haley up tonight?
I mean, there's a lot of exciting speakers. We have the co-chair of the RNC, of course, Laura Trump, speaking as well. I believe she's the first family member to speak. So it's going to be a meaningful day here, like every day is, especially after Saturday. But it's also exciting because we're all just looking forward to unifying the country, unifying the party the best way that we can, and moving forward into this election. and into next year in a Donald Trump administration. So I think it's just about bringing people together, realizing after Saturday that we are all changed as human beings and as Americans, and that the history of our country has changed, and it's on us to kind of work together to make sure that the future is changed as well.
And then today is your focus is on immigration. Are we going to be hearing from any angel moms or anyone who lost their child to somebody who was here illegally?
You will actually be hearing from some special people that were impacted in horrible ways. So I hope people are tuning in because, again, these become not political issues but human issues, and we all mourn the same way, we all grieve the same way, we all hurt the same way. And I do truly believe, especially after the events of Saturday, that all Americans, left and right, will be tuning in and will agree on a majority of these issues because deep down we all bleed the same way and we all hurt the same way. And I know that some of the speeches today will be incredibly impactful for those tuning in.
Elizabeth Pipko, she is the Republican National Committee spokeswoman. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app.